Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our April 2023 OC HMIS user meeting. Please enter your agency name into the chat box. The items we will review in this meeting are as follow: the data quality plan, client record request, HMS help desk ticket, HMS staff onboarding, release of information for unaccompanied minors, updates to intake forms, deleting services and program enrollments, service delivery types, and an announcement regarding upcoming CS report training. We will also have an announcement for our data and performance management meeting agenda, and we'll leave some time for Q&A, and we'll also stay online for office hours. Erin, can you get us started?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So the COC board approved the data quality plan and data quality tools guide. Both of these documents have been under development for a little while and have been shared at previous data meetings, but wanted to kind of go over the final product with everyone. So the purpose of these guides is to help the users understand the different components of data quality, as well as establish a standard monitoring and reporting process for data quality, establish policies for incentives and enforcements, and then provide the users with tools to manage their agency's data quality. Next slide. So the first part of the data quality plan goes over what the different components of data quality are. So I'm going to go over those briefly with some examples. The first is data completeness. So this is just the degree to which required data is known and documented. And one example of data completeness that we have is our data completeness dashboards, and also our quarterly report card that we publish. So it's looking at the percentage of valid responses for each data element versus don't know, refused, missing. And so valid responses are any responses that are approved by HUD that are not blank, missing, don't know, refused, or data not collected. And so that's the first component of data quality. Next slide. The next component of data quality is data coverage. So this is looking at, of all of the homeless projects that you have in Orange County with beds, what percentage of those are actually participating in HMIS? And so one way we look at that is through, when we do the HIC and PIT, we look at the percentage of beds that are in HMIS. And so that's what you're seeing on this screen. Next slide. The next component of data quality is utilization. So kind of the theme with all of these components is that all of the data is in HMIS and is being collected so that it can be reported on. And so for utilization, it's looking at the percentage of the beds in HMIS that are occupied, because if we have beds, but we're not filling them, the data still isn't getting into HMIS. So that's kind of what bed utilization is looking at. Go ahead to the next component. We also have data timeliness is another component of data quality. So this is how long it's taking data to be collected and then entered into HMIS. So for example, if a client enters your project on Monday, but it's taking you until Friday to enter that data into HMIS, that's what data timeliness is looking at, is how long that's taking, because the sooner the data is in HMIS, the sooner it's available to be reported on, and also the more likely it is to be accurate, because it's still kind of fresh in your mind. Next slide. Oh, and I see a question on the dashboards. Are they dynamic? Can I select the areas showing data issues to learn the client who make up that percentage of data not complete so we can correct? Kind of, yes. So Christine is asking about the data completeness dashboards that I mentioned. So we do have, there is an aggregate report or aggregate dashboard, which kind of matches the format that I showed you. And then we also have a details version of that report. So you can't click it on the dashboard to see who the clients are, but there is a companion dashboard that has all the details and lists the clients and their IDs and everything. Another question, can you explain bed utilization again? Yes, so it's the percentage of beds and units that are occupied. So it's the number of nights that clients were filling the beds at your project divided by the total possible nights that beds could be filled. So the way it kind of works out is we find out the number of bed nights each client has during the reporting period, add all those up, and then the denominator is the bed inventory that was available every day during that reporting period. So if it's, let's say you're looking at a month and you have 10 beds, 10 beds available for 30 days would be 300 possible bed nights. So that's how we're determining bed utilization. Can you go back to data accuracy? So the next component of data quality is data accuracy. So this is making sure that the data that you're entering into HMIS is actually reflecting what's actually happening with your clients. So this is not just, is the field filled? It's looking at, is the field right? And so we do have a data accuracy dashboard that looks at this. We do also include some data accuracy on the report cards that we publish. So some examples of data accuracy is social security numbers can't start with the number 9. So if a social security number does start with the number 9, we know that's not a real social security number. So that's a data accuracy issue. Also, a client can't have a housing move-in date before their project start date. So if that occurs, that's also a data accuracy issue. Or if a client says they're disabled, but they don't provide the disability type, that's a data accuracy issue. And so we do have a dashboard. What you're looking at here are a couple of looks from that dashboard. And there is, for that dashboard, also a companion one that has detailed information so you can see who those specific clients are. Next slide. The next component of data quality is data consistency. And this isn't something that we measure so much through reporting as much as it's something we address as best we can through training. So this component is making sure that users across Orange County are all collecting data the same way. So we all should have the same understanding of what housing move-in date is and how it's collected. Same thing with, project start date or any other data element. You want to make sure everybody is collecting data the same way so that you can make consistent interpretations about that data and know that it means the same thing to everyone. So the best way for us to address this is with training materials. So we have HMIS cheat sheets, which is a snippet of what you're seeing on your screen here. We have the trainings to gain access to HMIS. We have the knowledge base. So just trying to develop those training materials as much as possible to ensure everyone is on the same page. Next slide. So those are the components of data quality. Like I said, it's really making sure that data is in HMIS, that it's complete, that it is accurate and makes sense, and that we're all kind of collecting our data the same way. The next, oh, I got a question. If a client does not have a social security number, what would be the best answer to choose on our data reporting without our data reporting being impacted? So the option you should be choosing according to the data standards is client doesn't know, because it used to say client doesn't know or doesn't have, but that was what the guidance is in the data standards. It will show up as not a valid response, but HUD is aware that, you know, all the clients that you're serving may not have a social security number, or may not want to share it with you. And so they do accept that it's not going to be 100% data complete for that one. The good news for all of you is HUD is considering only collecting last four on social security number. So that will make collecting that information a lot easier for many of you. We haven't had they haven't decided that for sure yet, but that's something that they're considering. So I know this is like a recurring issue for everybody. So hopefully that will be resolved. So the next section of the data quality plan is just an overview of our data quality monitoring and reporting process. And so this is referring to the quarterly report cards that we publish, and is something that we've been doing for a while now. It's just kind of formalizing the process and making sure it's written down. So this is really the process for getting the report cards published. We send corrections to the administrators. You have a couple weeks to make those corrections, and then we publish the final report cards. The goal is for the report cards to be published by the end of the month following the end of the quarter. And so that's what we are working towards with our team. So just having that written down. Next slide. And so the last section of the data quality plan is the incentives and enforcements. And so this is to, I guess, reward the projects that are doing really well in their data quality. And then if for those that are kind of struggling with data quality is kind of a process for managing that and making sure that we're supporting the agencies as much as we can. So the incentive is that projects that met data quality thresholds in all 4 quarters of the calendar year will be shared with the COC board and published on our website. And this is just kind of a great job. Look at how well these projects are doing. And then your agency could share that with any funders or anyone you would like to, just to kind of highlight your data quality. Next slide. And then, so for enforcements, any projects with at least 4 data elements under 80% in any quarter will receive technical support from 211 OC. So we're going to be developing probably a form or something like that to kind of kick off the data quality review process with you, and then to kind of guide you on how to correct any data elements that you're having issues with. And then you'll be able to work with our staff for additional support if you need that. Projects that are targeted for technical support in 4 consecutive quarters will also be shared with the COC board. And if the agency were to apply for funding approved by the COC board, then you would have to address those data quality issues in your application. So what that would mean is, for example, if you were having poor data quality for the past year because of social security number and destination and 4 different data elements that you're struggling with, and you wanted to apply for some funding approved by the board, you would just have to say yes, we've been struggling with data quality in this project and these data elements, and this is the reason why. And so it isn't meant to prevent you from being able to apply for an opportunity. It's just the board mostly wants to make sure that if there are data quality issues that it's, you know, for a legitimate reason, like for example, you can't collect social security numbers for everyone, and it's not for a reason that you're just not completing the data entry that you need to complete. So it's not meant to be a punishment, it's just meant to understand the data quality better. And then for those projects that aren't required to participate in HMIS and have had data quality issues for a year, will be reviewed by the Agency Access Working Group to determine if the project should continue in HMIS. And again, they're trying to look at, is there a reasonable explanation for any data quality issues, or is it just the project isn't entering data or collecting the data that they should be? And another question, any chance you'll be taking out the Social Security quality section? For now, we're not removing the Social Security field because we're staying in compliance with the HUD standards, and that field is a requirement right now. But if HUD changes their requirement to only collect last four, then we would remove that also from ours. And so that's what is included in the data quality plan. We also have the data quality tool guide that I mentioned. And so that just kind of goes over the different components of data quality and the reports that you can run or resources you can access to address that component of data quality. And so we will include links to both of those documents in the meeting minutes. There'll also be a post on our website. I think it's supposed to go up at 11 with the documents if you want to check those out. And we do have a data quality page on the website now that also will list those documents as well. So please review them and let us know if we can help you with your data quality. And we have looked at all of the projects that are in HMIS and their data quality while we were creating these incentives and enforcements and working with the COC board. And there are very few projects that meet the criteria for needing an enforcement. So don't worry yourself too much about it at the moment. Because it's not very many projects, and we will help you as issues come up. So just want to make sure everyone's aware that we are here to support you, and we can work on this as much as possible together. And part of this process also will be to make sure that these incentives and enforcements kind of are reasonable and make sense. So once we've been doing this for a few quarters, we'll kind of consider it and make sure that it's doing what we want it to do, and it's not meant to punish the agencies. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Erin, for sharing. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward. Client record requests. Clients have the right to review a copy of their data entered into HMIS. This includes data on their client profile screen, the client release of information, and their enrollment history of projects that participate in OC HMIS, and a list of client records uploaded into HMIS. Client will need to reach out to any HMIS participating agency that provide them services to submit a request to the HMIS help desk. An agency admin at the agency is required to review the dashboard with a client upon request. This is to support the client if they may have any questions regarding the data they're reviewing on the dashboard, and for the agency admin to have an opportunity to explain so the client understands the data that they're viewing. We have been getting a lot of requests, so we just wanted to review this process with all the users and agency admins. And we also included a knowledge base article link there that you can review for additional information on how to protect the client's privacy and how to handle requests to edit the client's data. On this slide, this is an example of the dashboard and the data that's been approved by the COC board. Please keep in mind, this is the only data requests report that is available for clients to request. So any data request that is not included in this dashboard will need to be submitted for review and approval. You'll see in this section, this is the client profile screen data. So if the client has any questions or has any requests to edit this data, the agency will be able to edit the client profile data, and the client has a right to revoke their consent to share their data so they can update their ROI. The enrollment history, this will not be, the client will not be able to request to edit this, as this is a record of the history of all the projects they participate in. And for the client documentation, any request to delete any file will need to be submitted to the HMI help desk so that we could review and provide additional information, as some documents are required for program eligibility. Please review the knowledge base article for additional details and guidance on how to process any requests for edits. We will be linking the KB in our meeting minutes. So I don't see any questions coming in, so I'll move forward. But if you do have a question, please feel free to add that into the chat, or you can ask at the end when we have Q&A. Thank you. The HMS Help Desk has been getting an influx of tickets that are being submitted by non-agency admins. So we wanted to provide a friendly reminder that only agency admins should be submitting support tickets to the HMS Help Desk. This is to ensure that the agency admin has reviewed and approved the request that's coming into the HMS Help Desk. And we do encourage users and agency admins to first review the knowledge base library to see if you can locate the errors that you're encountering. And if you don't see that topic in our knowledge base library, please submit a help desk ticket so that we can support with creating a knowledge base article for the errors that you're encountering. And a friendly reminder to agency admins, when you're submitting tickets, please make sure to provide us all the necessary details so that we can support with your ticket. We would need to recreate the errors so that we can investigate and provide support. And if you would like a status update on your ticket, please reply to the ticket that you submitted. Please do not submit a duplicate ticket, as it could create miscommunication. And in our previous user meeting, we went over how you can also create a help desk account through HappyFox so that you can view all your tickets in one location. We will also include that link so that you can review that if you haven't already created an account. So I don't see any questions coming in regarding help desk tickets, so we'll move forward. Diana?
Good morning, everyone. We wanted to go over the HMIS staff onboarding for new staff members for your agency. So when adding a new staff member, there are a few tasks that need to be completed. First are the training courses. A new staff member will need to be able to take the training courses according to their access role. Usually this includes HMIS Part 1, which covers the history of HMIS, privacy and security, basic HUD definitions, and HMIS practices. HMIS Part 2 covers HMIS functionality, and then finally the HMIS skills test, which tests the knowledge you gained from the training courses. For specific information regarding what training courses need to be taken regarding a specific role, we ask you to refer to our knowledge base article for new staff onboarding. Next slide, please. When staff have completed the training courses in the HMIS skills tests, you will need to submit an HMIS account update and testing form with the new staff's information, such as name and email address, and the fictitious household that was created on the training site during the HMIS skills test. For any account, it's good practice to ask the user for certification that they completed the training courses necessary for account activation. Next slide, please. So when the user has completed their training courses, they have the option to go to the tab My Achievements, and that will give them a list of all the training courses that they've taken and which ones have been completed. This is really useful when you have a number of users that are trying to onboard, or if you have someone that's doing a recertification. And if there's no questions regarding new staff onboarding, I think we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Armando?
Hi, good morning, everybody. We wanted to provide a refresher on the process or the procedure for completing the release of information for unaccompanied minors. Unaccompanied minors are considered to be a single client that is age 17 or under, or it could be a household where all of the clients in that household are 17 years or younger. These minors cannot consent to share their personal information in HMIS. Therefore, in these situations, the permission in HMIS should be set to no, and the client privacy must be set to private. On the right, you can see two examples of where the permission setting is specified as no under the release of information section. And then on the privacy section of the client's profile, we will be specifying that as private instead of as public. Data can only be shared if written consent is obtained from a parent or a legal guardian of a youth who is under the age of 18 years of age, or with written consent from a youth who is 18 years and older. This information can be reviewed on our accessing and completing release of information knowledge base article.
Thank you, Armando. We had a question that came in regarding the screenshot of the training, if it needs to be submitted with the skill test. So we just wanted to answer that question that we got in the chat. It is not required that you send a screenshot, but this is a good practice in ensuring that the user has completed the appropriate training so that there's no delay in creating their account and making sure that the user has the appropriate training for the access role that they need for your agency. I don't see any more questions, so we'll move forward. Armando, I don't see any questions regarding the ROI, so we'll move forward.
Another update is that the intake forms on our page have also been updated. The following English and Spanish versions of the intake forms have all been updated to include the Military Service Theater of Operations. So these include the COC ESG intake form, the PATH intake form, the intake form for HOPWA programs, and those for no federal funding.
Thank you, Armando. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward. Andrew?
Hey everyone, we just wanted to provide a little reminder regarding deleting services and program enrollments. If you enter services or program enrollments incorrectly, you can delete them by following these steps. First, you search for the client in HMIS and click the edit icon next to their profile. Then you want to go to their history tab and hover to the left of the service or enrollment you wish to delete and click on the trash icon that appears and confirm the deletion by clicking OK. So only agency administrators can delete program enrollments. And also, if you don't see the trash icon, it's likely that there is a service that is linked to the program enrollment that needs to be deleted before you can delete the enrollment.
Thank you, Andrew. I don't see any questions coming in regarding deleting services and program enrollments, so we'll move forward. Heather?
Good morning, everyone. We thought we'd provide a refresher on service delivery types in HMIS. So please keep in mind that these slides are geared more toward agency administrators, since they're the ones who communicate to us the services needed for their projects. So in clarity, services are set up as service categories with multiple service items underneath them. And service items are the actual services provided to the client. And they're what show up on various reports like APRs and CSV exports. In the screenshot to the right, you can see how it would look in clarity. So for example, a food service may have a meal voucher, a bag of groceries, and meal on site as service items that are available to provide to clients. The service delivery is the frequency by which these service items are provided. So there are 4 service delivery types: long-term, single event, daily attendance, and multiple attendance. Next slide, please. Thank you. Long-term delivery types are, in general, not provided to clients every day. In HMIS, users select a start date and an end date, and the end date can be more than 180 days after the start date. An example of this type of service would be case management. Single event delivery types are associated with a single date or provided on an as-needed basis. Users select an event date, which will be recorded as the service item's start date and end date. An example of this might be a gift card or a bus pass. The following screen will also provide additional specific recommendations for single events. So daily attendance delivery types are service items provided on a daily basis. In HMIS, users can record these service items once a day or once with an end date up to 180 days after the start date. So note that the service can also be provided in the attendance module. Examples would be like bed nights for emergency shelter projects. And finally, multiple attendance delivery types are provided multiple times a day. In HMIS, users can record these service items several times a day, and each time you record the service item, you enter a date and a time. And similar to the daily attendance, this service can also be provided in the attendance module. An example of this would be meals. Regarding single event, next slide, please. Sorry, Elizabeth. Regarding single event service items, it's recommended to configure the following service items as single events, since they are always associated with a single date. W1 services provided HOPWA, financial assistance HOPWA, P1 services provided PATH funded, P2 referrals provided PATH, R14 RI service connections, V2 services provided SSVF, V3 financial assistance SSVF, and V8 HUD BASH voucher tracking. So if you have any questions about the services in your specific project setup, please feel free to reach out to us and we can provide guidance on case-by-case situations. And you'll find additional information on the new agency program setup cognito form and the adding services and attendance-based services KB. And these will also be linked in the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Heather. We'll give it a couple seconds to see if any questions come in. I don't see any questions coming in right now, but please feel free if you have a question, you can ask during our Q&A. So we'll move forward for now.
The HMIS Help Desk team will be hosting a CES reports training session on Thursday, April 27th at 2 p.m. We will be reviewing some CES reports and explain each of the different reports that might be helpful to you. A reminder newsletter with more details will be sent out the week of the training.
Thank you, Heather. Diana?
The April 2023 Data and Performance Management Committee meeting will be canceled. The PSH OPH project performance report will be published next week.
Thank you, Diana. We had a question about the CS report training. So it will be a live Zoom meeting and we will provide more information in our newsletter, and the link will be available also included in the newsletter. So we have some time for Q&A. If you have any question regarding any of the topics that we discussed today, please feel free to add that into the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. And for those who joined the meeting a little bit later, please make sure to enter your agency name into the chat so that we can take attendance.
Hi, this is James. Can I ask a question?
Yes, feel free.
Okay, I'm from Youth and Social Services. I wanted to ask about some of the data quality guidelines. I just want to ask for timeliness. I know you mentioned like as a specific example, enrollment. So I wanted to see like first question, like what would be a good, like what is the desired level of timeliness there? And then second level, like, or second question, does this also apply to things like notes, case management services entered, like those kind of things as well, the same way?
So for timeliness, the threshold for Orange County is within 3 days of when whatever the activity was occurred, and the what we're looking at for data timeliness is enrollments. So the number of days between when the client entered your project and when you put it in HMIS, and as well as services and exits.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I see. I must have missed this slide. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for your question. We'll also include additional information and knowledge-based articles that you can review so that you can review your data timeliness within your project. I don't see any more questions coming in. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope to see you at our next user meeting, which will be May 3rd. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.